Hi guys, it's Simon here. I'm going to be starting a few new segments this week in order to kind of match up with my plan of getting more videos out along with completing more of my homework. And I'll go more into this plan on Monday's episode. But now, I'm starting off an entertainment news review segment that I'm calling Simon K's Spotlight, where I go through entertainment news over the last week and I state my opinion on it. Some of the opinions will be shady, some of them will be funny, and some of them will just be me just talking. Plain old gibberish. But that's what we love about the show. So, let's get ourselves started with this week's antics. The Radio Disney Music Awards happened today in the United States, with Fifth Harmony, Ariana Grande, Maroon 5, and Taylor Swift picking up several awards, with Jennifer Lopez receiving the Hero Award, the highest honour of the night. However, when One Direction failed to win any of their awards despite being one of the world's biggest boy bands, One Direction fandom accounts took to Twitter in an outrage, blaming Fifth Harmony fans for their loss, known as Harmonizers, and swore that they would get rid of every single Fifth Harmony account by suspending them on Twitter. Twitter, the said-mentioned social networking site, is now planning to console these poor Directioners by sending them ice for their burns and the perfume Delusion by Jinx Monsoon in order to help these poor Directioners get over the boys' loss. Aww. In other news, the Vampire Diaries actor Ian Somerhalder and ex-Twilight actress Nikki Reed are reportedly getting married this weekend. However, security around the couple has been increased due to Nina Dobrev potentially auditioning for a live-action version of Shrek. Her audition tape being her running through Ian and Nikki's wedding ceremony directly down the aisle and shrieking at the top of her lungs, "I object!" Moving on from that little bit of skullduggery to the most feel-breaking show on television this week. And I'm talking, of course, about Grey's Anatomy, where in this week's episode titled How to Save a Life After the Frey Song, written by Shonda Rhimes, the episode, not the song, the episode entailed a big shocking surprise, dubbed one America will never forget, and quite indeed the whole world will never forget this. Patrick Dempsey's character, Derek Shepherd, was killed off the hit TV series after 11 seasons. And Twitter and every other social media site, Instagram, Facebook, Vine, they all went berserk. Some slamming Shonda Rhimes and the show, claiming they would never watch again. Some greatly mourned Derek's loss by crying copious amounts of tears. And some, well, mainly me, congratulating Shonda on her amazing writing of tragedy that episode. But has the reaction from fans or previous fans been a little bit over the top? No, not at all. We're fine. We're absolutely fine. You know what, let's not talk about that. Let's go to something fun. RuPaul's Drag Race, which is next down in my notes. Ex-contestant Latrice Royale and ex-True Blood actor Nelson Ellis came to the hit show this week, where in a shock twist, Trixie Mattel returned to the competition despite being eliminated 4 weeks previously. Unfortunately, this also meant someone had to go, and in a fierce lip-sync against Jaden Dior Fierce and Ginger Minj, it was Jaden who was sent packing. With votes on the winner now turning into Katya's favour, with Violet Chachki and Pearl also favourites to make the final 3 with Katya, the bitter old lady brigade, consisting of Kennedy Davenport and Ginger Minj, are now preparing to receive benefits, or Centrelink payments as they're known in Australia, as they won't be winning the $100,000 prize. And that's just my computer being an idiot and deciding to update midway through the episode. So let's move on to something else. The Avengers Age of Ultron premiered this week in cinemas, but, oddly, it's not the film that's getting major circulation. It's the antics of the actors that is getting more coverage. In particular, this incident, in which two of the film's actors, Jeremy Renner, who portrays Hawkeye, and Chris Evans, who portrays Captain America, landed in hot water after calling Black Widow a slut and a whore. Renner and Evans have apologised for their actions, but many are mainly jumping on Jeremy Renner's back for his apology being more a publicity stunt than an attempt to actually say sorry. Which I've got two things to say to that. One, at least he took some time out of his busy schedule to apologise, because believe me, that guy is quite busy. He didn't get 2 Oscar nominations for no reason at all. And 2, Chris Noth said exactly the same thing about Carrie Bradshaw in an interview with Vogue a couple of years ago, and yet no one said anything about that. Double standards much. This is something I really don't like. I have seen the interview with Jeremy and Chris, and I'm upset by what they've said. I'm upset about anything that is even remotely anti-women, as many of you know that I'm a feminist. A male feminist. Yes, indeed, you heard that right. I'll repeat it slowly. I am a male feminist. Get my gist now? Anyway, what I will not handle, however, is other people peddling double standards for these two actors that they would not be setting for other celebrities. That's just poor argument reasoning, honestly. And they've apologised. Even if Jeremy's was more a PR stunt, he apologised anyway. So, let's just drop this and move on. Done, sealed, delivered. Thank you. Let's see this next one. X Factor New Zealand. Despite many thinking that Steve Broad would be sent home following his performance on the previous week's show, we were left in shock as May Valley were instead sent home, whilst Lily Bayliss fell into the bottom 2 for the 3rd time running, thereby leaving Shelton Woolwright with only one act in the competition, Brendan Thomas and The Vibes. However, Stan should be really concerned, as Miss Bayliss no longer resembles an elf from The Lord of the Rings and is more resembling like the New Zealand version of Katie Waisel than anything else. That's not a good position to be in, because I'm thinking the minute she hits the bottom 2 for the 4th time, that's it. She's done. There's going to be no way she'll claw herself back from a 4th one. But tonight's show's just happened, and you never know. Let's move on to something else that's been really talked about this week. The Vampire Diaries. This week's episode, the 19th episode of the 6th season, has ourselves drawing ever closer to the dreaded finale, which is Nina Dobrev's final episode. The exit strategy for Nina's character, Elena Gilbert, was planned, with her intending to take the cure for vampirism with her current boyfriend, Damon Salvatore. Nearly caught myself then. I nearly said the other Salvatore brother, Stefan, which is something that I would never have lived down if that had come out. Oops. Caroline Forbes' humanity was returned after a conversation with Stefan, and Lily has officially been declared mentally delusional and the biggest cockblock in CW history after trying to get in the middle of Elena and Damon's relationship. Penis Hilton, eat your heart out, mate. There's someone who could potentially be more crazier than you in this world. Embrace that, okay? Embrace it before it gets killed off. Let's move on to other things. Richard Hammond reportedly quit Top Gear this week along with James May, leading to a whole panel, what's that word that I'm trying to use? A revamp for the Top Gear panel. Given that James Jordan has been dropped from the network, the shit year The Voice has had, the BBC's hatred of all Jordans including Ola, Rita Ora potentially not returning to the show, and potentially as well getting Penis Hilton for Strictly, now's a good time for every single UK resident to cancel their license to the BBC before the programs put on for the rest of the year cause you to bang your head so hard against the wall you end up putting yourselves in comas. Believe me, if what Katie Hopkins writes is true, the NHS is not exactly going to do a fit job with taking care of you. So now's a good time to get out while you can. Also, regarding Rita Ora, reportedly Simon Cowell wants her to join the X Factor UK panel, but ITV is saying no to this. He's also tried to approach the US version of The Voice to try and hire away Adam Levine, frontman of Maroon 5. However, NBC rejected Cowell's offer, stating that they did not do business with dickheads. And that's all I have to say on that. Let's move on to Moose Women. And I'm not even going to bother correcting that. Nope. On Moose Women this week, Colleen Nolan's dog made it onto the set and decided now would be a good time to take a piss and essentially wet the set. That's comeuppance for you ladies. Don't talk over Miss Hopkins, because you'll get more dogs coming in and pissing all over your set, and one day one of them's going to piss over the wires and shut your show down. Believe me, that's kind of what ITV needs. With the X Factor clogging up the show, along with Moose Women, now would be a good time to remove both programs and get some new fresh material onto the show. Because at the moment, Coronation Street's the only program that I'm actually bothering caring about this week. And every other week, over, I think it's Callum Logan and Tina's relationship, or blooming over their relationship. Anyway, that could potentially become a really interesting topic. So, that's what I'm mainly paying attention for. Not to see the Moose Women. There was also, I think there was a plus size comment made that was pretty controversial as well. So I'll need to go back into that properly and see exactly what was said. I remember watching it a couple of days ago, but not really getting it in sync in my head because I've got several other things to do along with resitting my psychology test. So let's move on from the tired old Moose Women and focus on someone who's bright, fresh and entertaining. Pink. According to reports that came out a couple of days ago, a father blamed his ex-wife for his daughter being taken to a Pink concert, saying that she could have been harmed by the provocative lyrics and dancing of Pink's hit song So What, which was performed during the concert. Mate, you should be more worried about your daughter, who's 12, downloading and copying material from Game of Thrones than what Miss Moore's lyrics and dancing could do. Really, in the words of Ron Weasley, you need to sort out your priorities. Let's move on to another thing now, and this thing is actually really getting on my nerves. Michael Bisping, or Michael Pissing as I refer to call him now, says that former WWE wrestler CM Punk is welcome to the UFC. However, his fan base will scatter after he is wiped out in the first round, and that he'll learn pretty hard and fast it was a gigantic mistake to come to the UFC on his behalf. Well, I'm not going to leave his fan base if he's whacked down. So what? Punk's a resilient guy. He'll just get up again and go ready for round 2. And another friend of mine, a fellow YouTuber known as Anthony Loverick, who is also a CM Punk fan, won't leave as well. We've both made that decision to stick by him. Me for other reasons as well. Anthony sticks by him because he's a good wrestler and because he's straight edge. Actually, that's the same reasons that I'm sticking with him as well. I look to him more as a role model in that prospect because me being straight edge, I'm not going to drink in life and I'm not going to take drugs. No cherie. My family tend to get on my case about this a little bit, but the fact that I have a role model that actually has stuck to this principle of being straight edge and not having to take alcohol or drugs makes me feel better. It makes me feel like I have an example to set up to. I'm like, right, if he can do it, I can too. So, I'm quite sure me and Anthony are not going to leave his side depending on CM's progress on the UFC. We're going to be right behind him with the rest of his fandom cheering him on. So, I don't think that fandom's getting knocked down, and even if they do, me and Anthony will still be left standing. That's not the entire fandom that's getting knocked down. There's 2 people from the fandom still there, so that's not the whole fandom going down, Mr. Bissing. So, to politely put it, Mr. Bisping, direct your opinions about CM Punk to www.nowonegivesashit. Get my gist, mate? You understand? Good. Let's move on to Miss Katie Hopkins, who oddly didn't end up in the press this week due to something she said. Amazingly, she ended up in the Mirror about her knickers being on display as she headed out for a night on the town, and mainly focused on the fact she flashed her legs. The fact that this is actually news has led me to decide one thing about the author of this article. Miss Charlotte Waring, who wrote this said article, she's not just open for business. She's wide open. If you know what I mean. That is... I actually think that that's actually going to be really horrible to say. Oh dear. I'm maturing into a male Katie Hopkins. What has become of my life? Oh! Okay, we're nearly finished. You don't have to suffer for much more. We're nearly finished. Okay. Scott McIntyre. It sounds Scottish. McIntyre. With a bit of American. McIntyre. Okay, seriously now. I need to put on a straight face, so... Yeah. Mr. McIntyre, after his controversial Anzac Day comments about several Anzacs committing rape and theft in Egypt, Palestine, and Japan, coming out on the same day of Anzac Day when Australians and New Zealanders are supposed to be mourning the loss of those diggers that lost their lives in World War I, he's been fired from the SBS due to these comments. I talked with my mum about this a little bit earlier, and as it turns out, they could have potentially done some of this stuff. But a few of them probably didn't. And if this had been said on another day, maybe he would have gotten off on it. He could have gotten away with it. But he chose Anzac Day to do it in, the day of memorial. That's not something you say. Even my school conducted themselves better at their Anzac Day ceremony. Other than that one person that, after the Australian and New Zealand national anthems did... was the only one doing that, we, turned. Even we managed to keep more of a composure than Mr. McIntyre. The award for the most low-end version of Katie Hopkins goes to... Never mind. We shouldn't be giving him any publicity anyway, because this is what he'll thrive on. And that's probably why those comments were made. Particularly on that day, just to get a rise out of people. Well, it's not going to work for him, because now he's lost his job. You poor, poor sod, Scott McIntyre. You poor, poor sod. And finally, 2020 news. Diane Sawyer's interview with Bruce Jenner received widespread praise on Twitter, with several celebrities, such as Ellen DeGeneres, Sam Smith, and even Kylie Jenner, coming out in support of the former Olympic athlete. However, not everyone was particularly enthused. Several were upset that Bruce Jenner had come out as a Democrat. To be perfectly honest, I don't care what your standing is politically. As long as you're a good person, I'll be able to get along with you. And also, Chris Humphrey made a tweet saying, "Glad I got out when I did," which he's now backtracked on and apologised for. But before then, it didn't stop Mr. Penis Hilton jumping on his tweet in a vague attempt to make himself relevant again. Or, quite frankly, to make themselves both relevant again. Because, to be honest, after the Kim Kardashian divorce, where have you heard Chris Humphrey's name? Chirp, 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 chirp. Exactly. To put it simply, to Chris Humphreys and Penis Hilton, over their tweets, and I will say this loudly with this so you can hear me properly. No one cares. Get that point? Got it down in your little headspace, which could be wiped clean? Yes? Good. Then that's pretty much that. That was a big, gigantic, long rant. Pretty much, but mainly a summing up of what happened this week in the entertainment industry on Simon K's Spotlight. So, let me know what you thought of the segment by making a comment below. I realise that these videos go on for a very long time, but that's usually because I have quite a lot to say. And it took quite a long while to make this, so please keep that all in mind when you're commenting below, okay? So, tomorrow, I'm going to be starting up a brand new schedule. And our Vivo Certified Challenge is back. But who is going to be our new artist? We're trying to get to 100 million views. Find out tomorrow on the Simon K Show. For now, I'm going to head off and do some more psychology work. And there's really nothing left to say other than bye guys, see ya.